Kishoridas.
Radha Radhe. We'd like to welcome everyone today to Radha Madhav Dham and our Sadhana Shivir program. I'm pleased to introduce Sushree Diwakari Devi Ji, who is the president of JKP Radha Madhav Dham. Sushree Diwakari Devi Ji studied the deepest aspects of the philosophy of our Sanskrit scriptures and devotional music under the guidance of Shree Kripaluji Maharaj and received Vaishnav sanyas in 1996. Since then, she has been providing inspiring satsangs throughout the world, including countries such as New Zealand and Ireland. Didiji's charming and uplifting speeches awaken the mind and stir the soul, while her Nam Sankirtan enters deep in the hearts of listeners, inspiring them with devotional love for Radha Krishna. Please listen attentively to our discourse and kindly turn off your cell phones. As a token of our respect to Didiji, I would like to request Hina Patel from California to offer flowers to Didiji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की ध्यान मूलम गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजा मूलम गुरोर्पदम मंत्रमूलम गुरोर्वाक्यम भक्तिमूलम गुरोर्कृपा बर्हापीडं नटवरवपुः कर्णयोः कर्णिकारम् बिभ्रद्वासः कनककपिशम् Vaijayantim Chamalam Randhran Venu Radhar Sudhaya Purayan Gop Vrinde Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kirtihi Nayanam Galadashudharya Vadanam Gadgad Ruddhaya Gira Pulakair Nichitam Vapuh Kada Tavanam Grahani Bhavishyati Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvang Hadeva Matma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapatye. Respected devotees of Sri Maharaj Ji, respected viewers, Radhe Radhe. Let's chant for a few minutes. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Govinda, Gopal, Radhe Krishna. Govinda, Govinda, Radhe Krishna
Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
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 Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
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 Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki In many of his lectures, Sri Maharaji has explained a fundamental truth about ourselves. As souls under the sway of Maya, we aspire for only one thing. What is it? If we gathered the 8 million humans in existence at one place and asked them what they are looking for in life, we would end up with more than 8 billion answers to this one question. Because every individual would give multiple answers to this one question. There are so many things we desire in one day alone, and therefore it's obvious that if anyone were to start noting down all the answers or responses to this one question, that person would continue writing endlessly for eternity and never end. Such is the extent of desires. And the Vedas explain to us, and the scriptures, they tell us that Sukhaya karmani karoti loko nataihi sukham vanyaduparamam va vindeta bhuyastata eva dukkham yadatra yuktam bhagavan vadennah bhagavatam. Sarvesham api bhutanam ripasvatmaiva ballabha itare patya vittadyas tadvallabhatayaivahi. Shukdev Paramhans tells Parikshit in the Bhagavatam. Anand paane ki Govind Radhe जीव में नित्य आकांक्षा बता दे. So the single motive behind each and every action of each and every individual is only one. Every one of us desires only one thing alone, happiness of the self. That is what we desire. Any answer that you may give or anyone may give to this one question, what do you want, will have one and only one motive, and that is the happiness of the self. You may say, upon being asked, I want money. But why do you want money? Because I want to be happy. Anything that you may desire will have only one motive. So the root of all of our desires is only one, the attainment of our own happiness, ours. We desire our happiness. And this is something that was not taught to us by our parents at home, nor our teachers in school. This is a knowledge that we are born with. It is an inborn, inherent, innate quality that we as humans possess. So the Vedas explain why we aspire for this experience of happiness and perfect happiness. So the Vedas tell us, Chinmatram Shri Hareransham Sukshma Maksharam Avyayam Krishnadhinamiti Prahur Jivam Jnana Gunashrayam. That we are a fraction of God who is bliss absolute or perfect happiness. And therefore, we desire happiness, perfect happiness. And every fraction has a natural love for its whole. For instance, all the flares of the fire, they rise toward the sun. All rivers, they flow naturally toward the ocean. You hold any gross product of the world in your hand and you let it go. Where does it go? It goes directly to the earth because it is part of the earth. So this science is very simple and easy to understand. That because we are a fraction of divinity, we naturally seek that experience through our every effort and our every endeavor. So the question is, how would we reach, how would we attain this perfect happiness that we have eternally sought? Who will lead us to that goal? Rupa Goswami Ji in his scripture, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, has described. He talks about faith. Ado Shraddha Tatah Sadhu Sangotha Bhajana Kriya Tato Nartha Nivrittisya Tato Nishtha Ruchis Tatah Athasaktis Tato Bhavas Tatah Prema Bhyudanchati Sadhakanam Mayam Premnah Pradurbhave Bhavet Kramah. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, Goswamiji, Rupa Goswamiji talks about faith. Faith, yes, it is a prerequisite to the process of divine attainment. As the first step, first and foremost is faith. So what is faith? Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Dridho Vishwasaha Shraddha. Full, complete faith, confidence, trust in the teachings of the Vedas, the Shastras, and the Guru. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji tells us, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasaha Kahe Sudridha Nishchaya. So, complete faith, and without any ifs or buts or doubts or any confusion whatsoever. When you go to learn a language, be it Urdu, Hindi, English, or any language for that matter, you put your trust and confidence in your teacher. So you do exactly as the teacher says. The teacher says, this is letter A, alphabet A, and this is exactly how you write it. So you call it letter A. This is letter B, you call it letter B. So that trust in the teacher, and you do not interrupt the teacher, you never doubt the teacher, and that trust, because of that trust in the teacher, one day you become a scholar of that language. In the same way, if the doctor says you have whatever the ailment may be, TB, bronchitis, what do? You surrender to the doctor. The doctor prescribes whatever medication, you follow his instructions thoroughly and diligently. And you take the medication in the specific dosage, and you take all the precautions. Why? Because you care for your body, you do not want to die. That's why. So, Goswami Tulsidas Ji has said it very beautifully, and he tells us, Sadguru Vaidya Vachan Vishwasa Sanjamaya Navishaya Ki Asa Raghupati Bhakti Sajivan Muri Anupan Shraddha Atiruri. So the teacher has to be genuine. And the disciple, in other words, we also have to admit and accept that we are sick. In other words, we are inflicted by Maya. And only then the doctor can treat us. And therefore, the healing process can take place. Only then. But just as if someone is hungry, as Shri Maharaj says in Hindi, bhook lagti hai to sukhe chane bhi achhe lagte hain. If someone is hungry, then even dry chickpeas, they taste absolutely delicious. But if one is not hungry, then they would shun a delicacy such as rasgulla. यदि भूख नहीं है तो रसगुल्ले को भी कोई ठुकरा देगा. So what I'm trying to say is that if one does not have faith, then even a genius guru cannot do anything. They cannot do anything. The guru may say, well, I'm here. I'm here to distribute divine knowledge at no cost to you. It's free. Oh, these people don't have anything better to do they? Divine knowledge indeed. So, if one does not have faith, then even a Jagadguru cannot do anything. What can a guru do? Nothing. Even Shri Krishna, he demonstrated a miracle in front of Duryodhan. But even so, the Supreme Lord had to accept defeat. Duryodhan said that I know who you are, but I am not going to accept defeat. I know you want me to give villages to the Pandavas, but I am not willing to give. No, I'm not going to give even 5 villages. I'm not going to give them land equal to the point, to the tip of a needle. I know you are God. Oh, really? You know I'm God? I know you are God, but I am not willing to accept that you are God. Quite interesting, isn't it? Yes. I'm not willing to accept that you are God. People in the world say that wherever you see a miracle, bow your head. But Duryodhan did not bow his head. Instead, he told Shri Krishna, please leave. He told Shri Krishna to go away. And consequently, what happened? The war, the Mahabharata war had to take place. No one could do anything to avert the war. Nobody. Nobody could convince the Kauravas, no one whatsoever. And even the great personalities as Dronacharya, Ashwathama, Bhishma Pitamaha, and all of them could do nothing. So where there's no faith, there's no hope. No one can do anything. Not even God nor saints. So faith is foremost. It's important. Someone may argue, well, I have no faith. Is there any hope for me? Yes, absolutely. Yes, there is hope for you. How? Because as individuals, we have all been endowed with a power. Bharatri Hari tells us what that power is. Ahar nidra bhayamai thunancha samanya metat pashubhir naranam gyano hitesha madhiko vishesho gyane nahina pashubhi samanah. So, Bharatri Hari tells us in the first line of this verse that there are 4 attributes that we possess that other living beings, birds, animals, etc., they also possess. Ahar, we eat, they eat. Nidra, we sleep, they sleep. Bhay, we fear, they fear. And we as humans procreate, and so do they. However, there's one attribute that sets us apart from other living beings. And what is that? Gyano hitesha madhiko visheshu. Gyan, it's knowledge. So we as individuals, we have been gifted this power of knowledge. It's a gift of knowledge. In Hindi, it is known as vivek. So as individuals, as humans, we have an intrinsic capacity to discriminate between right and wrong. We have that power. So in any given lifetime, this power that we have we have two choices. We can either utilize this power and follow the path to divine love, divine enlightenment, God's love, or we can neglect and abuse this power and lead or follow the path to our own destruction, downfall, the path of darkness and endless suffering. So we have these two choices. So even if anyone does not have faith, our scriptures tell us that one can utilize or put that power of knowledge to good use and avail of knowledge, scriptural knowledge. So what is knowledge? Upasade purusham ye yakamaha te shukrame tadati vartanti dhiraha. Mundaka Upanishad. Knowledge is that which brings forth love for God. So devotional love toward God is the proof of knowledge. And pride and material cravings are the signs of ignorance. So knowledge itself takes the shape of love, which appears as the desire to meet God, to receive His divine vision. So if there is no such desire or longing to meet God, it means that there is no knowledge whatsoever. So just like, for instance, a hungry beggar comes to find out that he can get food for free of charge at a nearby monastery, what does he do? He runs over there to satisfy his hunger. In the same way, if an individual who is seeking and searching for divine love over the course of countless lifetimes, comes to understand that God is kind and compassionate, then it is only natural that he will develop an inclination and a desire to meet and to receive God's divine vision. Yes. So, Goswami Tulsidas Ji tells us that knowledge or understanding is the basis of faith. He tells us, Jane binu na hoya paratiti, binu paratiti hoya nahi priti. So, Goswami Tulsidas Ji tells us that Jane binu, without understanding of knowledge, without knowledge, we cannot expect to have faith. So knowledge appears as faith. And according to the intensity of that faith, one desires to meet and visualize and perceive God. So such a longing is called love. Where there is no love or longing, it means there is no knowledge. There is no knowledge. Once a Sufi saint said that I have read all the Vedas. He said to another, I have read all the Vedas, but you are a Muslim. What do you know about the Vedas? So he said, I've read all the Vedas and the Bible, and I accept all of them. I honor a mosque, a temple, a church alike. Yes. Why? And how is that? Because I love God, he said. I love God. What else is there in the Vedas? What else is there in the Bible? I love God. Yes. Once a father became so angry at his son that he slapped him. And the son, incensed by what happened, he left his home And he found some job, just an ordinary job in some hotel. It wasn't long, being industrious by nature, it wasn't long before he established his own business and became a millionaire. And one day the thought came to his mind to return home, even though he had vowed to never return home. One's mental state, it fluctuates. So all the pent-up frustration and everything that he had subsided, and he decided to go home. His father, who in a state of mental anguish and because of what he had done and being separated from his only son, had become partially delusional or mad. As luck would have it, both men happened to be staying in the same inn. So during an episode of madness, the father would often create disturbance. And so he would speak incoherently, crying and so on. Now the son, who was all filled with the pride of youth and being a millionaire, he wasn't going to stand for any of that nonsense. So he stormed out of his room and he said to the man, "Hey, you old man, you're making a big noise. I'm just not able to sleep. And where is the manager? Why do they even allow like such lunatics to stay in this hotel? Get him out of here." So an altercation that followed led to, they realized that they were the father and the son. And when they realized their relationship as father and son, what was deep resentment toward each other only moments ago led to love as they tearfully embraced each other. So Sri Maharaji tells us that while there was so much resentment, knowledge of their relationship led to love. Yes. In the same way, Sri Maharaji tells us that if somebody knows God 10%, what does it mean? It means they love God 10%. If somebody says, "I don't love God," it means they don't know God. They have no knowledge of God. That's what it means. That's what it means. So, just as if you find a ring lying somewhere and you have it valued at $10, you leave it here and there casually. But when an appraiser of diamonds values it to be worth 1 million, then your love for that same ring increases exponentially. It increases. So it's the faith, it's the knowledge rather, that leads to faith. And faith leads to love. It leads to love. So the question is, who will? How would we acquire that knowledge? Who will tell us about that knowledge? Who will bestow that knowledge upon us? So the scriptures again tell us that when the desire for God or the inclination for God takes root in one's heart, and until such time as an aspiring soul meets God, in the interim, there is a divine entity. There is an indispensable link between us, the soul, and God. And this link is known as a spiritual master. A spiritual master, one who will educate, who will inspire, one who will guide, protect So the spiritual guide is the indispensable link between us and God, which is why Sri Maharaji has ascribed in his Radha Govind Geet that Shrotriya Brahmanistha Govind Radhe Guru Hi Ishwarya Jnana Karade. Guru se Hari Jnana Govind Radhe Guru Binu Kakha Gagha Jnana na Bata de. The ABC of devotional knowledge cannot be acquired or learned without the guidance of a God-realized personality. And so say the scriptures. Acharyavan Purusho hi Ved Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmano Nirveda Maya Nastya Kritah Kritena Tadvigyanartham Sagurumeva Bhigachet Samit Panihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham Ved. Shrotriya Brahmanishtha, one who is well versed in all the scriptures and has also realized God. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. Gita. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shraya Uttamam Shabde Parecha Nishratam Brahmanyupashamashrayam. Bhagavatam. All of these scriptures, they unanimously assert, they declare that there's no hope of treading the path of love without the guidance of a spiritual master. But as far as a spiritual master and surrender to a spiritual master is concerned, there are some people who, due to their vanity, do not want to surrender. But at the same time, they want to learn the process of devotion so that they can do it by themselves. They think that there is some specific process or technique which can be learned without the need to surrender. There is a definite process for God realization described in the sacred texts and also in the writings of great masters. And while anyone can read them, read the process, and follow and try to follow, the mentality, however, to keep oneself away from surrendering to a saint and not being involved in the process of self-surrender or not losing one's individuality is not a devotional attitude. To begin any devotion, a devotional attitude is required. An attitude that betrays self-vanity, which may cause spiritual transgressions by disrespecting the saint from whom the person is willing to learn the process of God realization. Such a person will deprive himself of any benefit. Why? In the process of devotional, in his spiritual life. Why? because he is out and openly ignoring and disregarding the importance of that saint's grace. That's why. Such materialists there's so many who are simply engaged and indulged in multiplying their possessions and gratifying their senses. They want to try spiritual sadhana, spiritual devotion, just out of sheer curiosity to have some extraordinary enlightenment and to enlist themselves on the ranks of devotees just in case there is a God or his divine abode, etc. The devotions of such sensualists, it never bears fruit, which makes them gain more additions to their devotional life, to their so-called devotional life. And so what they do, they never stop exploring methods of devotion from just about any and every preacher. There was once a man in India who had received instructions and initiations from 20 preachers. Imagine. And so his spiritual life was a huge mess of 20 ideologies. But even so, he was desiring to learn more devotional formulas. Some people think that simply by learning the process of devotion or meditation from a saint will immediately usher them into extraordinary experiences and bestow divine vision. Such people should understand and should know that they cannot expect to receive any kind of divine favor from a saint by establishing a commercial relationship with that saint. No, it doesn't work. So what do they have to do? They have to humbly offer their heart and mind. Yes. Actually, there is so much material. People are so intoxicated with materialism that they have forgotten the importance of human life and the value of God realization. Otherwise, they should have no reason. There should be no reason to not surrender to a saint. Why should there be a reason? If a person is hungry, then what happens? They will seek food. But if they're not hungry, and if anyone offers them food, they will nibble politely, but unwillingly. That's what they'll do. So, this is the situation of the world today when people have actually lost their spiritual appetite. That's what has happened. They've lost their spiritual appetite and do not feel the urge or the need for God. They are only eager to gratify their physical senses. They do not realize that the inner urge is not for sensual gratification. No. It is a spiritual urge that they have ignorantly understood as a sensual need. It is actually a spiritual urge. And if you probe into the situation, you will find that there is no individual who is independent. no one is independent. Absolutely no one. Every individual is dependent on his social and economical circumstances and is a slave of his emotions, his passions, his physical weaknesses, and his mental despondencies. And although such kind of slavery is actually permanent, and the person has accepted that slavery in good faith, what he ignores is the painful situations that keep manifesting in his life. And so what happens as a result, what happens is that his material attachments keep increasing day by day by day. And therefore, his bondage, his material bondage, becomes more and more tightened. On the other hand, if such a person is willing to accept the discipleship of a saint, then what will happen? He will not only escape the slavery of his emotions and material bondage, but he will also realize divine happiness of ever-increasing sweetness. So now we understand that sensual enslavement and material engagements only affirm one's bondage, while accepting a saint and surrendering to a saint, what does that do? It will award him that sense of freedom and independence that he has sought forever and forever. Yes, that is what will happen. So this brings us to a very important question. How to find a guru? I will answer this question in my lecture tomorrow evening. Shrimad Sadguru Sarkar ki, Ladli Lal ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.